In the AutoSync dashboard, I want to create a new data pipeline with the wizard, and I'm using this to unify all of my lead data, so I'm going to give it a sensible name. Now, this is to create a data set for my marketing team to use. So I'm choosing the appropriate options in the wizard, and now I'm going to choose where my data is going to live, and that's going to be in Google BigQuery. Now, where is my data coming from? My first source is Oracle, and now you can see from this pop-up that I support Oracle data sources in the cloud, not just on-premise database instances. I'm also going to pull in data in the same pipeline for Google Sheets and Google BigQuery. So now I configure my credentials for connecting to my data target where my data is going to reside. My data set is going to be created. You can see I just pick my schema and I add my Google Cloud Storage bucket. Now I'm going to be prompted for the data sources. So here's my cloud-hosted Oracle instance. I've got my credentials pre-configured. I get to choose my schema. In this case, there's a long list, and which tables I want to synchronize. My lead PM table is the one I'm picking here, and that has a last modified date column that I can use to support incremental data loading. So I choose that. In Google Sheets, pick my right credential. I choose the spreadsheet I want to use. In this case, it's also called lead. And then which of the tables I want to synchronize from that spreadsheet. And my final source is a different Google BigQuery instance than my target. I use a different set of credentials to log in. I choose the project ID and my schema. You can see it's a different schema than my target, and which tables I want to pull from there and source to my target. So in this case, it's another table called lead. This too has an incremental date loading column called last modified date. So I choose that and click next. So there is a naming conflict because a couple of my sources have objects of the same name. So the system has suggested two different names so I can differentiate between them, but they don't mean anything to me. So I'm going to replace them with something more business centric, related to where my data is coming from. So Google Sheets was provided by marketing, but Google BigQuery data was provided by sales. So I'm going to change those and I'm going to save those new names. Now, the next thing I need to do is work out how I want to transform my data. So in this instance, from my Oracle data source, I want to keep everything. I want to keep all of my fields and ingest them all. Now, this is my marketing source from my Google Sheets, and I don't need a couple of these fields. So I'm just going to click on the column headings here and remove them. The fields at the bottom of the screen will not get ingested. I'm going to check my Google BigQuery instance, and those are all fine too. I'm going to proceed by ingesting all of those. Okay, there's some null values, but we can handle that. Now, the next thing I need to do is work out if any of these fields have null values. If those are going to break my downstream analytics, do I want to replace those null values or empty values with some other things, some other strings? So you can see here, if my company name from my lead PM Oracle data source is blank, I'm going to use SnapLogic. For email, it's no one at nowhere. And if the campaign information is blank, I'm just going to put New Year 2024. I'm going to skip my other data sources because they're fine. And I don't want to run this on the schedule. I just want to run this ad hoc. So I just save that as my schedule option. And now the system returns me to my AutoSync dashboard. Now, if I want to check my settings, I can just double click on the pipeline and open my edit screen. And you can see here, I can change my column filtering on my empty value configuration settings in this screen. I don't want to, I'm just going to click cancel and run this pipeline. So once this pipeline is done running, I want to go and check my Google BigQuery target for the data and how it's landed. So you can see this is my marketing Google sheet. You might recall I took out 3 columns from there, and you can see some of the preview data, and it's only got the fields I asked for. If I check my Google BigQuery instance that I ingested, again, you can see I didn't handle any of the null values in here, and those null values have been preserved. And then finally, if I want to check the data I pulled over from Oracle, this is where I did handle some of the null values. So as I scroll to the right, you should see that the company name there for the second entry is SnapLogic. You can see the email address has also been populated as I specified in my custom fields. If I decide in future that these aren't appropriate, I just go to my AutoSync dashboard and modify the properties in my edit screen.